How's it going, everyone? This is Shockwave48 here. Welcome back to another video. Today we are finally, this chapter has finally arrived in My Hero Academia, chapter 223. And I believe I do say this all the time, and I'll say it again. This chapter is amazing. And I reviewed it like a couple of times, and I saw a few pictures of it, and it looks pretty darn good. And as far as I can tell, I think Deku won this battle. I do believe, because I see in chapters that he actually defeated the world's greatest terrifying villain of all time. So I'm actually excited for this. I want to see more what's going on in this chapter. So with that being said, guys, let's dive on in.
All right, so we got the 423 spoilers, and it seems like All for One is being defeated in this chapter. Not only that, I think the fight is over, actually, because we're getting like a resolution to not only All for One, but also Shigaraki. Yeah, it's pretty wild what happens in this chapter, so let's just get into it. So the chapter begins with All for One saying that he found it weird that his regeneration wasn't healing his body. In addition to that, each hero's hostility came together to confuse Danger Sense and hide Deku's presence. So this is coming off of the previous where we saw all of the heroes that were remaining aiding Izuku and landing like his one last ember punch on All for One, because that's all he had left was just a few embers of One for All. And in the final panel, he did land that punch, and it's not completely taking out All for One here. He's kind of just having a monologue as to why his regeneration wasn't healing and why his danger sense wasn't working, because apparently it was being thrown off by the other hero's hostility. This shows that his body is exhausted and his mental state has never been worse due to Yoichi's death. Deku remembers All Might saying that One for All would make a weak body explode, and tells All for One that he directly received the power cultivated by 9 users. All for One's body begins to crumble, and some heroes think that the fight is over. But All for One uses various quirks to keep himself together. He says that he hasn't achieved anything yet and that he can't die because the Demon Lord is absolute and he has to fulfill his dream. He says that he just has to start all over again, like he did with Shigaraki. In other words, he just needs to transfer All for One's quirk to Midoriya or some other hero to take over their body. He then approaches Deku, but Kurogiri moves. So yeah, All for One kind of at his wit's end here, both weak mentally and physically. And I was getting really excited when I first read this, like him passing on All for One to Izuku, because I've been speculating for a while now that I thought that the series was going to end with Izuku having both One for All and All for One, and then using them in some way to not only, defeat All for One and Shigaraki, but also, like, I don't know, cure the quirk singularity in some way. But no, it doesn't seem like any of that is going to happen. And as for the quirk singularity, I we're just gonna have to wait for the final chapters, even if Horikoshi is going to address that. Mike shouts Shirakumo, and he replies, Shota, Yamada, I'm sorry, but I have to go. I need to protect Tomura Shigaraki. He opens a portal between Deku and All for One, and Mike cries, saying that Shirakumo always reaches out to those who need help. So he's sorry here because when Shirakumo was made into Kurogiri, Yujiko programmed into him somehow that he must be the protector of Shigaraki. But first, let's talk about the sponsor of this video, Skillshare. Because Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives with thousands of classes led by industry experts across film, illustration, design, freelance, productivity, and more. So this summer, invest in yourself and your goals by starting a learning journey on Skillshare to take your career skills or side hustle to the next level. And speaking of side hustle, I've been trying to start my own business, but I'm just clueless how to go about it. So Isis Brianna's Build Your Dream Business, Craft Your Purpose and Online Presence class really helped me getting started with that, because Isis showed me exercises that helped me find my brand message and promise, as well as the needs and desires of my ideal audience, as well as developing a sustainable social media strategy, things I had no idea about. So guys, if you're looking to better yourself this year and use a very valuable learning path from Skillshare, check the link in the description, because the first 500 people to use my link will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Thanks, guys. So it's so hardwired into him that even though he is seemingly regained his Shirakumo consciousness here. His Kurogiri programming is still like on autopilot and he can't fight against it. But I guess it's also converging with like him being like a great guy who helps people too, at least according to Present Mike. Shirakumo says, all for one, give Shigaraki back. His friends are waiting for him. And Kurogiri starts to disappear, but at the last second, Bakugo appears and propels Deku with his explosions. Mike says that he should be in the hospital, but he flew there with his quirk. Bakugo says that Shoto made an ice ramp for him to get up there. But careful or else he'll end up surpassing you, Izuku. Deku says that he'll never forgive All for One, but that he's not an incomprehensible monster or a demon lord, and deep down he's just a very lonely man. So finally, Bakugo's back. I
Expected to
guess
see
we all
you
knew
again.
Bakugo just wasn't going to end the series off with him just defeating the physical aspect of All for One. Like, he has to show up again for, like, the final sequence here. And he has, assisting Izuku to get closer to All for One. And as for it saying that All for One is just a very lonely man, apparently that is the case, because he's just fully coming undone here as we see. We then see All for One talking to a flame that represents Yoichi. He says that Midoriya's last punch transferred the last ember of One for All. That is, the last fragments of Yoichi, the quirk itself. All for One says that he doesn't care about that and he just wants to see Yoichi's face. Yoichi says that he failed to take his brother in the right direction, but now Midoriya is allowing both Shigaraki brothers to finally rest. All for One starts shouting, saying that he won't allow it, that he loves Yoichi and needs him by his side. Okay, so first of All for One killed Yoichi originally. Like, he just murdered him without a second
Serious?
thought. And it's like, now he cares about him. Now that his vestige is gone, he suddenly starts caring and he wants him to be by his side. I mean, I understand the origin of these two. They were the only people that they had, growing up, trying to survive as babies and eventually becoming kids and whatnot. But when they were adults, All for One killed him, and he didn't really seem to care about it at that time. Now he cares. I mean, he always cared, but he was more so half caring about Yoichi and more so caring about getting the ultra power of One for All, and just, I guess, further controlling his brother eternally. But yeah, just the ultimate outcomes of these characters is just a little odd. Also, it's saying Shigaraki brothers here. I guess that means that their last name is Shigaraki, because All for One said that his name was Shigaraki, but we didn't know if he meant like his first name or last name. But I guess that means that Yoichi Shigaraki is his name, and then All for One's name is just, I guess we don't know it, right? I guess we never found out what his first name was. Not that it really matters. Yoichi says that it's time for All for One to pay for the crime of using so many people and that they're not alone there. Next, we see all the One for All users plus Shigaraki coming out of the shadows and a full page of Deku and Tomura punching All for One's vestige. The vestige disappears and Deku and Tomura's hands touch. Tomura says that he thought that he had been completely swallowed by All for One this time, but Nana's vestige connected with them and prevented him from disappearing. He then says Kurogiri, and we see the last bits of him. He says even though he briefly got his body back, he didn't manage to destroy anything. Midoriya was right. Deep down inside, he was just a crying boy, and that's why he couldn't destroy Deku's hands. Deku says that he continued to fight because he couldn't forgive what Shigaraki had done, but also because he wanted him to stop. He wanted the sadness to be over. Izuku Midoriya, if Spinner is still alive, tell him this. Tomura Shigaraki fought to destroy until the very end. Deku says that he managed to destroy what he really needed to. The last page goes back to the real world and reveals that Shigaraki's body has been completely destroyed and turned to dust. The rain has finally stopped and the sun is shining. End of chapter. Wow. So that's it? That's
Finally.
Shigaraki's resolution? He just is like, yeah, you were actually right, Izuku. Alright, I'm dead now. To be honest, I don't even know what I was expecting. It just seemed like he was not going to be redeemable up until this point. It didn't seem like he was going to have like this 180 of realization, I suppose. Where's Tenko?
That's what I'm confused about.
Sit on this. Yeah, it's too early for me to give a full thought on this. I'll have to go over this more in my full review for the chapter, which will probably be out Saturday morning. Just for now.
Wow. This. Wow. To be honest, I kind of figured this was going to end. I didn't know. I didn't know this was going to end pretty badly for Shigaraki. But other than that, Deku had did what he had to do. And I mean, even though it was a pretty risky move, even though he had a little bit of power left, he did what he had to do. And it seems like the fight's over, but I'm a little confused about where's Tenko. I think he's pretty much dead, I believe, or I don't know. But I'm glad, everything turned out okay for Deku and he defeated Shigaraki once and for all. All for One's gone, thank goodness, because, yeah, he's a crazy man. And even though I heard that he was caring about his brother, which he pretty much ruined his whole life during the beginning, using him and then taking people's power, which I really don't get. First you hated the person, now you like the person. I mean, your mind's made up already after all this time? Wow. So, congratulations, Deku. A round of applause taking out Shigaraki. You are amazing. Well, I guess that's it for that battle. All is left to find out whether Deku's going to be quirkless or if he's going to be back to his original, or he's probably going to get quirk. I don't know. My predicting is either he's going to be quirkless or not. I don't want him to be quirkless. I hope he doesn't. But even though he's, you know, things are turning out to be quite okay, and I'm pretty sure probably in the next chapter, hopefully, probably in a few weeks, pretty sure we don't have no break. But eventually he might get his quirk back, or he might get a new one. Who knows? But I wasn't going to predict that Deku was going to get All for One's power because even if he did have All for One, One for All, he'd probably be totally unstoppable because he probably undo history. Because I mean, All for One's power is remarkably strong, and even Deku couldn't control it. Even if he did, he'd probably turn into this new monster of his, and that'd be bad. But I wasn't going to predict that. Even though if he could inherit All for One's power, it wouldn't be nice for him. Not at that point. Okay, guys, that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.